Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making this evening a priority in your lives and being here to share in what we think is going to be an amazing evening as we honor and recognize the work of this great organization. We have a really full program this evening. It's going to include a lot of awards and recognition. We are fortunate enough to have, again this year, another nationally acclaimed award-winning author who will be delivering a very creative and I think you'll find interesting message. And then we're following that very briefly. At the end, there'll be just kind of a reflection of where we were, where we are today, and where we're going. And we'll share some of that from the command staff's perspective. So definitely a full program. So at this time, I would like everyone who is able to stand, please rise for the presentation of the colors and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Honor guard, halt! Right, red. Prepare to post the colors. Post! Honor guard, ready, fence! Reason, on!
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, on! Ready, fence! Forward, march!
You can be seated, thank you. First, I'd like to start off by recognizing a few guests and guests in the audience and distinguished guests that'll be with us this evening. Some people are going to be joining us a little bit later. I know the city manager and the mayor were hoping to join us yet, but I would like to recognize one of our fire commissioners, Bob Tift, is in the audience. Bob, raise your hand. We do have our police chief, Mike Harsey, here. And a number of police officers are also here joining us, and we appreciate their support and them being here this evening. We also have Scott Nelson, who's with Clarity Central. He's here along with his wife. Retirees, we have a few retirees in the audience. Retirees, if you'd raise your hand. Good, that's a good sign they can still raise their hand. Yeah. And our CERT team, those members of our CERT group who are here, I'd like to have you raise your hands as well. Thank you for being here tonight. And lastly, and probably the most important, is our families who are here tonight. We really appreciate the support that we receive from the families of our firefighters and their spouses and their children. You are an integral part of this team, and we enjoy the fact that you take time out to be here and sharing this with us tonight. So thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Fire Admin Sue Rasmussen, who obviously goes to a lot of work to make this a very seamless event for me, but she also takes care of a lot of the stuff that makes this night very successful. So Sue, thank you. Give her a round of applause. We decided to go to a different venue this year because we thought it would be more comfortable and certainly easier to kind of spread out and have a message that is just a little less echoing than last year's action charged in the apparatus bay. So I'd like to also recognize the JCC staff, Barb Rosen and her staff, for making this as pleasurable as it has been. And lastly, Nelson's Meats is who catered this evening, so if you enjoyed the food, please frequent their business. They do a great job, and they did a great job with the food this evening. So a round of applause for all those who have helped. So we'll get right into the presentations and the awards this evening, and we'll start with just introducing some new folks who have joined our organization this past year. You know, adding to the DNA of this organization through the way of new hires is kind of a critical, very critical component to sustaining ideas and energy that keep this ship moving. This year's group of new recruits is really no exception. We're very, very proud of their progress, and I'd like them to stand and be recognized. That's new recruits Dave Pacheco. Stand, there you go, Dave. Josh Nemitz, Sveta Vold, and Nate Buckner. Let's give them a round of applause. So building strong and effective, building a strong and collaborative organization requires the continual attention and recognition of the performance as well as the engagement of our staff. The success of this organization is directly tied to the efforts of all of you. And although excellence in performance is really a standard that we measure to, sometimes that recognition of the energy, the passion, and the commitment that it takes to sustain that can get lost in the moment. The awards and recognition portion of this evening we share tonight to point to the respect and admiration that exists within the team and the esprit de corps that prompts us to single out a member or members of this team for their notable performance. At this time, I'd like to have the command staff come forward, which is short one tonight. Kerry Smith and his wife are trapped in Hawaii. Tragic. Victims of the flight delays, so he is not here tonight. He sends his regards. We'd also ask that as you come forward, we're going to read your name and start moving towards the stage. Come up on stage to receive your awards, and as you depart the stage, pause in front of the banner on the other wall over there so we can get your picture, so we can time mark it with the new banner and date stamp it for perpetuity. So let's get it started. First off is the Stork Awards. On March 8th, 2017, just after 10 a.m., a call came for one in labor. Police officer John Fisher arrived first and began assisting the patient and helped deliver the baby while Quint 2 was en route. Dispatch advised that the baby had been delivered. Quint 2 arrived with medics and found the baby in the mother's arm. Quint 2 then covered the baby with a blanket and were cleared by the call by HCMC to respond to their call. Because these calls are unique and so impactful to the families we serve, we reserve a special award to commemorate this event that's called the Stork Award. So Police Officer John Fisher is going to receive the Stork Award from the Fire Department. Officer Fisher cannot be here this evening, but let's give him a round of applause. And that was for a female child. Next, we have another Stork Award. This is for a male child. I'd like to have Lieutenant Matt Nordby, Firefighter Matt Evans, and Firefighter Billy Breckel come forward, please. On April 7th, 2017, Station 2 was dispatched to a woman in labor. Quint 2 arrived and was met by the husband at the door who stated his wife was having a baby. He took us to the bathroom where we found the female party standing over the toilet grabbing a newborn. The baby was blue and unresponsive. We asked the woman for the baby and she handed him to the firefighters, and Firefighter Evans handed the suction and cleared the infant's airway. The baby then started to respond by crying. We used towels to clean the baby off and wrapped the baby in a foil blanket, and then Firefighter Evans then recommended that we have the father come in and cut the umbilical cord. We clamped it, and the father cut it. We then took vitals and with the mother while keeping the baby warm, and the county medics arrived. We assisted the medics with the mother. In order to assist medics, Lieutenant Nordby rode with the ambulance to Fairview Southdale Hospital. So because these calls are unique and so impactful to the families that we serve, we reserve this special award called the Stork Award, and these three gentlemen have earned it. Thank you. I'd like to have Lieutenant Matt Nordby, Firefighter Matt Evans, and Firefighter Rod Rodriguez come to the stage. I think it's important to note that as we read these kind of the history of what happened on the call, it's important to understand really everything that was happening. And sometimes those kinds of things can get graphic, but I think it's important to understand just to the degree that our staff make do every day in this city. So on 4/7/17, the fire department was called to one unresponsive at 1349 Jersey Avenue South. Upon entering the apartment, the crew found a female party lying on the bathroom floor unresponsive. The patient had defecated herself and was covering the patient in the floor. And while the crew was giving patient care, she continued, making it a difficult scene to perform at. The crew assisted medics with transferring the patient over to the cot and then into the ambulance. The patient had a 3-year-old son sleeping in the bedroom. The neighbor was going to watch the child, but having a very difficult time with the apartment smell and did not have the stomach to be in the apartment. So the crew took it upon themselves to clean the bathroom and the floor. Nordby and firefighters Evans and Rodriguez went above and beyond their job with a positive attitude to provide excellent service to the patient and her family at this very difficult time. So in recognition of exceeding expectations in customer service in support of this mission, for going above and beyond an extremely unpleasant call and putting the patient and their family first, you are awarded the Excellence in Customer Service. Thank you. Captain Steve Powers, firefighter Bill Ryan, who can't be here tonight, firefighter Mike Lindblom, firefighter Carrie Buckle, firefighter Nancy Schmelsley, and Chief Information Officer for the City of St. Louis Park, Clint Pyers. In an effort to support the Pulse Point rollout since June of 2017, firefighters Lindblom and Schmelsley, with the assistance of Station 1 B Shift members, have identified and downloaded over 35 AEDs within the City of St. Louis Park into the Pulse Point app. Publicly available AED locations are critical to the success of the Pulse Point program. When a CPR alert occurs, responders within a quarter mile of that incident are notified of the location of that nearest AED along with the address of the incident. If a CPR alert responds, responders from the public are able to locate that AED while responding, the chance for a successful outcome increases significantly. While our work is not done, firefighters Lindblom and Schmelsley and the Station 1 B Shift crew are making a difference for the City of St. Louis Park. Chief Information Officer Clint Pyers is being recognized because without his efforts, Pulse Point would not have been launched. It's like every piece of software you buy at the store, right? That says it's plug and play, just download it and push go. As much as they would like to think that, if not for the efforts of Clint, this process would not have launched, and the many, many lives that can potentially be saved would not have happened. So, in recognition of exceeding our expectations in customer service in support of this mission and supporting community risk reduction by assisting in the setup and continuing advancement of Pulse Point, you are awarded Excellence in Customer Service. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Bob Hampton, Chris Helberg, and firefighter Nancy Schmelsley, please. Lieutenant Hampton and firefighters Helberg and Schmelsley developed a hands-only CPR campaign to teach community members hands-only CPR and to provide Pulse Point in the City of St. Louis Park. They collaborated with our in-house communications staff to develop an awareness campaign for hands-only CPR and Pulse Point. They set up numerous hands-only CPR training sessions and used a variety of media, including social media and the community apps, to recruit interest. To date, they have offered 7 sessions with 49 community members in attendance, and as a result of this program and other efforts, Pulse Point registrations have grown to 600 plus in the initial 6 months since the rollout in June of 2017. So in recognition of exceeding our expectations in customer service and supporting the mission, and supporting community risk reduction by getting this program set up and the implementation of hands-only CPR, you are awarded Excellence in Customer Service, and thank you very much. Captain Mark Nelson, firefighter William Breckel, firefighter Scott Hagan, and recruit Sveta Vold. At 18:51 hours on Thursday, November 30th, 2017, Station 1 was dispatched to 3630 Phillips Parkway. Unit 312 for one unable to stand after a fall. Engine 1 responded and arrived to find the patient seated on a bathroom floor. He was unable to stand and was blocked by his scooter and was covered in feces. E1 Engine 1 moved his scooter, wiped up the mess and so that he could stand and be worked on. Crews placed the binder lift on the patient and lifted him to the chair and moved him to the shower and cleaned him off. Crews then transferred him back to the scooter and moved him to the bed where he was placed on the bed. Crews assisted with checking blood sugar, pills, and insulin, and over the course of the event, Crews checked on his strength for the rest of the evening, and his wife was comfortable with his condition and thought it would improve over the night. Engine 1 cleared and performed and cleaned up. The crew went above and beyond by cleaning up the mess in the patient's room and bathroom floor and assuring that his spouse was able to take care of him. The spouse was very appreciative. So in excellence in recognition of exceeding those expectations and customer service again for going above and beyond the extremely unpleasant call and putting this patient and their family first, you awarded an excellence in customer service. And thank you very much. Lieutenant Dan Yakel, who can't be here tonight, and firefighter Brian Oberschmidt. On December 29, 2017, the fire department was dispatched to a report of carbon monoxide detector sounding with no signs or symptoms of the occupants at 2708 Colorado Avenue. So Engine 2 arrived and investigated with the 4-gas monitor. They found 57 parts per million of CO at the front door, so they had dispatch call out the gas company. The crew found 70 parts per million in the basement and 196 parts per million by the gas fireplace in the basement. They also checked the water heater, furnace, and fireplace and narrowed it to the fireplace. Crews found a crack in the vent pipe and an almost rusted through section of the base at the chimney. The findings were reported to the gas company representatives, and he shut off and red tagged the fireplace and also shut down the furnace and water heater until the vent pipe could be fixed. The house was ventilated with the positive pressure fan. The gas company representative set up an appointment to fix the pipe and the temporarily used vent tape to cover the crack and rust to relight the furnace and water heater. The crews then cleared the scene. I think what's important about this call had the crews not advocated for the customer, the vent tape would not have been used and the customer would have been removed from their home that evening, and without heat, the house would have been at considerable risk. So, in recognition of exceeding those expectations in customer service and support of the mission, by making sure that you investigated the CO leak, locating a crack in the vent pipe, and assisting a resident in getting their heat turned back on in extremely cold weather, you are awarded the excellence in customer service, and thank you very much. Firefighter Bill Breckel. On January 23, 2017, firefighter Breckel had been caretaking at his sister's house in Hopkins when he heard sirens in the neighborhood. A Hopkins police car arrived across the street, and Billy witnessed the officer beginning CPR on the resident. Billy rushed to his aid, introduced himself, and assisted in life-saving efforts until he was relieved by Hopkins Fire and HCMC paramedics. And that was recounted to us by both Hopkins Fire and HCMC paramedics. And so, Billy, in recognition of your superior performance in support of this mission by being alert to your surroundings and assisting in a life-saving effort while off duty, you are awarded a Chief's Commendation. Thank you. Firefighter Jacob Bollinger. Firefighter Jacob Bollinger is receiving a Chief's Commendation for the actions he took during the month of July 2017 to evaluate, research, coordinate, and execute a plan to acquire new fitness and workout equipment for our fire station fitness centers at an absolute minimal cost to the city. After noticing a need for a wider array of fitness equipment for the stations, Firefighter Bollinger took it upon himself to research and evaluate needs and then devised a plan on how to accomplish the task. Jacob conducted extensive research and ultimately, by working with community partners, was able to develop a contact that was able to provide the city with like new fitness equipment at no cost. Jacob then visited the site where the equipment was located and determined that what would work best for the workout facilities located in each of our fire stations. He then collaborated with the city's Public Works Department and formed a crew to pick up the equipment at the facility. After the equipment was delivered to the stations, he then led a team of firefighters to move the equipment into the workout facilities at each station. The city and the fire department now have new equipment to further the wellness and fitness of any users of the facility. All told, this forward-thinking determination and action saved the city approximately $30,000 in new equipment and replacement costs. Firefighter Bollinger's outside-the-box approach, leadership, and actions reflect great credit upon himself and the fire department. So in recognition of superior performance and support of our mission by using your leadership skills, utilizing resources and negotiating tremendous cost savings to improve and promote wellness and fitness within this city. You are awarded a Chief's Commendation. And thank you, Jacob. Captain Paul Russell and Captain Steve Powers. 2 years ago, the city embarked on a journey to address the issue of race inequity. The need to consider how city services and access to those services, given the changing demographic of our community, would look in the future, required it. Ensuring that all we serve were treated in an equitable manner became an important directive from our city council and across our organization. Each department would participate in this process in a variety of ways, either through awareness level training, on cohort teams, or as department liaisons. The role of the liaison is to immerse themselves in the mission and to build consensus within their departments. They were tasked with ongoing follow-up and projects that reinforced our engagement in race equity. All this effort was over and above their regular duties and responsibilities. From their work, the department was able to draft a strategic plan around race equity, reinforcing the sustainability of this important priority. At this time, I'd like to have Captain Paul Russell and Steve Powers recognized for their superior performance in support of our mission and the support of the city's mission by providing leadership and direction. As a liaison for advancing race equity, you are both awarded a Chief's Commendation, and thank you very much. Firefighter Jacob Bollinger again, please. So Firefighter Bollinger has provided enthusiastic leadership for the St. Louis Park Fire Department Local 993 in a number of charity activities in 2017. He organized a very robust MDA fundraising event this year with a partnership at Steel Toe Brewery through ticket sales and a silent auction. The event was very successful compared to past Fill the Boot efforts. Jake also led the organization of the Salvation Army Ring the Bell fundraiser at Lunds and Byerly's during the Christmas holiday season. Total funds raised in 2017 through these events was over $3,000. Jake did a great job of organizing with a fresh approach and recruiting volunteers to assist with these 2017 charity events. So Jacob, in recognition of your superior performance by organizing, recruiting, and volunteers and raising money for multiple charity activities in 2017, you are awarded a Chief's Commendation. Thank you very much, Jacob. Captain Steve Powers, Firefighter Mike Lindblom, Firefighter Kerry Buckle, Firefighter Mark Flummerfelt. Dispatch Jen Martin, Marv Solberg. Police Officer Matt Havlick, Police Officer Matt Blomsness, and Sergeant Paul Barnes. On August 12, 2017, Engine 1 responded to 3373 Library Lane in reference of a report of a baby not breathing. Upon arrival, police officers were in the front yard with the patient and CPR had been started. Crews continued CPR and ventilated the patient using bag valve masks. Hennepin County medics arrived and took over patient care. The patient was moved into the ambulance where firefighters Lindblom and Buckle assisted as directed. Eventually, the patient regained a pulse and started breathing on her own. Firefighters Lindblom and Buckle, HCMC medics to Methodist Hospital, assisted with CPR as needed. Upon arrival at the hospital, patient care was turned over to staff. Engine 1 responded to Methodist Hospital to pick up Lindblom and Buckle, where they were then cleared from the call. I'd like to share, there's a couple different letters. Hey all, I would like to say a huge thank you to all that worked and responded to the infant not breathing call a few weeks ago. Madeline's mom, Amanda, works for Edina as a park rec supervisor, and I work with her closely at different committees and groups, and additionally, she is a friend. I am proud to say I work with some amazing people, and because of your exceptional work, this infant has a fighting chance to live. In case you're interested in following her journey, Jeff and Amanda have created a Caring Bridge site for her as a way to new heart transplant. And again, thank you, Tony Martin, 911 police fire dispatcher at the time City of St. Louis Park. Letter 2, I would like to thank Jen Martin, Marv Solberg, Matt Havlick, Matt Blomsness, and Paul Barnes for their response to the medical, which has given a little girl with a serious health issue the chance to live. Here is an email that was sent to the responding officers and firefighters. Hello, my name is Jeff Clark. I'm Madeline's dad, and the 2-week-old that you all helped save Saturday night. My wife and I will never be able to express how much we owe you all for saving Madeline. You all do such an amazing job, and we are thankful to have you all serving our community. We are still in the NICU at Children's. I've spent the last day and a half undergoing multiple tests to try and figure out what happened. No definitive answer has been found, and other than her main lower left ventricle chamber doesn't seem to be pumping as well as it should be. We're very lucky to have her, and because of that, and because of all of you. I actually work at the rec center in St. Louis Park. I'm the field supervisor there. I would love to thank all of you in person once I get back to work, so thanks again for outstanding work, Jeff, Amanda, and Madeline Clark. This time I'd like to have Jeff, Amanda, and Madeline stand to be recognized. So in recognition of superior performance in support of our mission during this crisis response, this group is awarded a unit citation, and we thank you. Firefighter Andy Willenbring. On June 6th, firefighter Willenbring was working a trade for another firefighter. While reporting for duty, a medical call for an overdose came in. The on-duty crew was out on another call at this time, so firefighter Willenbring responded by himself in Rescue 1. Willenbring arrived to find an unconscious and unresponsive female laying on the bathroom floor of her residence. A friend of the patient who was trying to intervene became aggressive with Willenbring, and numerous times he had to restrain him. Willenbring eventually had to forcibly manage this person, and then they were finally restrained and managed by a police department on scene. Andy then moved the overdose patient out of the bathroom to another location and administered direct life-saving measures. He opened the airway, checked for breathing, he managed the patient's airway and provided oxygen through an adjunct airway using a bag valve mask. He continued these life-saving measures until an ALS unit or advanced life support unit could get there, along with Engine 1's crew. The patient then spontaneously regained consciousness and was able to be escorted out to the ambulance with assistance, but ultimately under her own power. If it were not for Willenbring's knowledge, skills, and abilities, quick thinking, and aggressive approach to the management of this patient, the outcome would have been much different. So in recognition, Andy, of the superior performance in support of this mission, by performing life-saving measures initially by yourself under these adverse conditions, without hesitation or regard for your personal safety, and by bringing great credit to this department, your act of heroism has earned you the life-saving award. Congratulations. Firefighter Jens Anderson. So Firefighter Anderson showed outstanding commitment to personal development during 2017. While Jens has always focused on self-improvement during his career at SLPFD, this past year he stepped up his game even further. He was accepted into the National Fire Academy's Managing Officer Program, which is a rigorous curriculum consisting of 5 prerequisite courses, 4 courses at the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and a community-based capstone project. Because of the government shutdown, he was not able to go to his class this past week. In addition to the NFA program, where he received 54 hours of leadership training last summer, Jens also took 73 hours of additional officer training. As a member of the Embedded SWAT Medic program, he attended 143 hours of advanced tactical training. Jens also serves as a shift fire prevention specialist, where in his spare time, he dedicated 161 hours towards fire prevention specialist coursework, inclusive of investigation, arson, inspections, and public educator. He also attended FDIC in Indiana, where he attended a myriad of classes on contemporary fire service topics. All told, Jens invested 451 hours over 64 different sessions in outside extra training during the year of 2017. So Jens, in recognition of this superior performance and leadership, proficiency of your duties, your substantial performance in professional development, advancing your training and prevention to bring great credit to the fire department. Therefore, you have earned and are awarded the Distinguished Service Award. Thank you. Deputy Chief John Wolff. In 2016, I attended the Rosecrans Flooring Symposium in Chicago with Deputy Chief Wolff. This symposium focused on the prevalence of PTSD in the fire service, and Lieutenant Matt Norby was at this conference as well. Upon our return home, we discussed how we could create a solution here. And from that discussion, ultimately was born the Minnesota Firefighter Initiative, MinFire, as it's known today. An organization that not only recognizes the emotional challenges of our business, but also cancer and cardiac as well. Deputy Chief Wolff accepted the challenge and invested his energy in seeing that our firefighters and their families had a place to go. Today, there is a confidential peer support network that can be accessed by a simple call, a support network of physicians and resources who are building solutions across these three categories. Partnerships with research specialists to quantify support solutions with data and legislative support to build reform both here in Minnesota and nationally. If not for the leadership of Deputy Chief Wolff, this would not exist today. His willingness to collaborate, share the spotlight, and see this through is exemplary. His humility aside, I think it's important that we single out his effort. So in recognition of superior performance, leadership, and the outstanding proficiency of your duties, and bringing great credit to this fire department through your tireless advocacy for the safety of our firefighters, you are awarded the Distinguished Service Award. And thank you, John. So I want to extend my congratulations to all the award winners. Every year, I'm amazed at the display of exemplary performance and the way that our staff take on the challenges of day-to-day operations and make a difference in the lives of the people of this community. And we recognize that and appreciate it. So thanks again to all of you for your efforts that make a difference every day, and let's all give them another round of applause. So tonight's guest is no stranger to challenge and adversity, and I would also tell you that he is no stranger to the true joy that comes from accomplishing more than you ever believed you could. Biking from Alaska to Mexico solo is hard enough, and he will share that amazing story with you along with his experience as he traveled 3,634 miles in 51 days. Jerry Holl is a dynamic, independent business consultant. He's a professional speaker, an eternal optimist, and a weekend warrior. He holds engineering degrees, an MBA, and has over 3 decades of sales and leadership experience. Jerry resides in the Twin Cities with his wife and has 3 grown children. So please join me in welcoming at this time Mr. Jerry Holl.
Thank you for that nice introduction, Chief, and I'm delighted to be with this esteemed crowd of men and women. So, as Chief said, summer of 2012, I rode a bicycle solo from Alaska to Mexico. I thought this journey would just give me some really good beer drinking stories, but it turned into so much more. So come on along for the ride. First, a 15-second video. I want you to immerse yourself, let yourself go, and place yourself in the pedals, grinding away. This is life at the speed of a loaded bike. Giddy up, baby. Giddy up for sure. At that speed, I'll never forget, June 27, 2012. I gotta put myself back in that place. I was grinding my way toward Destruction Bay. Destruction Bay was a small enclave in the vast Yukon wilderness. I gazed ahead. What? Was that movement? I couldn't tell. My head was buffeting in a shrieking headwind, practically ripping my ears off. And I was like a bobblehead. And all of a sudden, this big head swiveled. And our eyes met. She had me in her crosshairs. My heart skipped. She froze me in my tracks. I was about 100 feet away, already too close. And a tremor of fear ripped up my spine. She was a big, blonde, huge, healthy female grizzly grazing by the side of the road. She had the broad face, the telltale hump. Then to my dismay, 2 cubs emerged from the bush. Oh my God, my problems just tripled. She has to be in lockdown protection mode. The searing reality of being alone and exposed in her house completely trumped my bravado, because I didn't really relish the thought of becoming a skin rug in her bear den. For protection, all I had was a squirt gun of bear spray. My first stop in Anchorage, I went on the sales floor. A woman came up. Can I help you? Yep, I'm looking for some bear spray. She says, oh, did you hear about the mauling last week? I just cocked my head and I said, was that constructive? Boy, you need to bring out, you know how to bring out the best, don't you? She sucked the oxygen out of the room, but it was her oblique warning that we're on going, everything is wild. She says, what size do you want? Big or small? I said, I'll take the jumbo. I need all the help I can get. So I wanted separation from her, but on the other side. I wanted separation on the destruction bay side of her. I love that name until now. Now that could become my fate. And I considered my options. 4 out of the 5 voices in my head said, go for it. The rational voice was scared silly. And then I faced a fundamental question that I think we all face at some time almost every day. What the hell do I do now? I thought about it just momentarily, and as though the intelligence of my feet made the decision. Click, clack, I snapped back into my paddles. And with grave trepidation, with my butt tucked under like a submissive dog, I thrust forward the pedals, moved to the left-hand side of the road. It was all going to be over in the next 30 seconds, one way or another. With a thin mist of bear spray as my only defense, I just made the second dumbest decision of my entire journey. The backstory is I didn't have to be here. This was a self-inflicted problem, so I'm not a victim. I got no one to blame but me. But in a larger sense, I had to be here. I had to know if I had more. I had to know if I had the right stuff to do this type of journey. As further backdrop, I'm an ordinary guy. I'm an everyday guy. I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm not an Olympian. I'm not an Iron Man. I don't have all day to train for this kind of stuff. I got up and went to work and provided for a family just like everybody in this room. But what I am is I'm a living testimony that great experiences are available to all, not just the chosen few. You don't need an extraordinary background to do extraordinary things. Based upon my story, what I'd like to do is inspire you to stretch yourselves beyond what you think you have and unleash your true capabilities. I had a great life, and I have a great life. Good career, healthy family, loving wife, everything someone would want. But I also had a dark side. Oftentimes a little more truthful side, percolating underneath. It created a dissonance. I felt like I had more that I wasn't using. Yeah, I was breathing and respirating, but was I really alive? I didn't feel like I was growing, and then all of a sudden it hit me. If you're not growing, you're dying. See, I felt like I was starting to sleepwalk through life. I was falling into the traps of becoming complacent versus courageous, mummified, calcified, institutionalized in my thinking. I was becoming too safe. And kind of falling into the syndrome, we've always done it this way. I was slipping toward mediocrity. I don't know about you guys. Mediocrity kills me. I hate mediocrity. So I knew I had to take a run at something big and new, something exceptional. You only live once. Who do you want to be? I'd rather fail in a blinding flash of spirit than wallow adrift in mediocrity. So it ignited my inner caveman, my adventurous side. I had 3 huge forces driving me. 1, a quest for explosive growth. I didn't want just little walk up the curve growth, little incremental growth. I wanted explosive new growth. Secondly, I was curious what I was made of. I've read every adventure book. I've seen the men and women in those books get in a pickle. And don't you place yourself in there and say, how did they get out of that? What would have I done? It made me wonder. And then the third thing I needed some new kick-ass beer drinking stories, because my friends had heard all my stories. My material was getting old, and I needed new material to entertain those. These three forces were enormous forces. Now, do I have the guts to act on them? So with pillow talk with my wife, Sue, I told her what I was feeling. She turns her head, she looks at me, she goes, "What are you waiting for? Go, it's your turn." She said, "Look, you bought a house, we've raised 3 kids, we educated the kids, you were involved in the kids and all their activities, and you let me back away from my career and be really involved in raising that family. Go, it's your turn." What a gift. Talk about supportive. It's all I needed to hear. Then as I thought about it a little bit more, I thought back, and she was even kind of enthusiastic about it. And after 30 years of marriage, too enthusiastic? So June of 2012, age 57, I decided to take on the adventure of a lifetime, a monumental stretch for me. I didn't know how I'd grow. I just knew I would. And I equated it to a personal R&D. I just see where it takes me and run with it. So I considered my options. I quickly decided on a bike trip. I thought to myself, gee, I like the West Coast. I'll just buy the right bike, I'll fly to Seattle, and I'll ride the Pacific Coast Highway to San Diego. And then I told that to an acquaintance. Somehow he saw I had more. He looks at me and he goes, "Jerry, if you go big." And it just hit me on the spot. Oh my God, I'm thinking too small. On the spot, I decided right then and there, I'm going to Alaska and Mexico. And I'm so glad I did, because if I would have missed that segment of the trip, I would have missed the most magnificent set of experiences you could ever imagine. Best advice ever. So it just harkens the question, were you thinking too small? I wasn't a big cyclist. I was just a casual around the neighborhood rider. Didn't have any bike clothes, never ridden in clips, never ridden a loaded bike, never ridden more than 25 miles in one outing, didn't train specifically for the journey. The way I looked at it is, I'll have plenty of time to get in shape along the way. And what I would do is I'd just ride from my house maybe once a week around Lake Minnetonka. It's flat, and I'd ride down to Wayzata, over the Grays Bay Dam, Woodland, through Deep Haven, Cotuit, Excelsior, back home. It's about 20 miles. I do that maybe once a week. That's the extent of my biking. And just prior to leaving, I told friends, "Hey, I'm taking a little bike ride." I said, "Oh, where?" I said, "Alaska and Mexico." They said, "Well, who are you going with?" I said, "Nobody. I'm flying solo." They thought I was completely off my rocker. And when I mentioned that to a number of people, the very first question everybody asked is, "Are you bringing a gun?" Then it was followed by, "Are you insane?" And then continued on through a number of other questions that are less than supportive. But look at the line of questions. They're full of negativity. They're full of fears, uncertainties, and doubts. People tried to talk me out of this. They were imposing their own fears and their own capabilities on my dreams. I just thought, what's prohibitive to them may be well within my capabilities. Don't let them tell you what you can do. Although I'd never done anything like this before, I just thought I could do it. I took an inventory of my skills. Let's see. I know how to camp. I know how to pedal. And I know how to work out. What's the big deal? I'll just string a few of those days together, and I got a journey. If I have the components, I've got the capability. Those are all the transferable skills. We all have them. And we all have them in enormous ways. From a planning standpoint, I didn't overthink it. I didn't over-prepare. I just thought I'll just get the big things right and figure it out along the way. The way I looked at it is I'm not going to the moon. I don't have to bring oxygen. So don't plan for a moonshot if you're just going on a bike ride. And I didn't have to be perfect. I just had to be directionally right. Leave enough flexibility for improvisation. I didn't know how to define perfect anyway. I couldn't possibly contemplate and plan for every eventuality that would happen out on the road. So my plan, I simplified it back to the very basic. Here's my plan. Buy a bike, fly to Anchorage, pedal. That was my plan. The way I looked at it is if I planned to become OSHA compliant, I'd never go. So then it turns out that attitude was much better than a detailed plan. Rather than progressively train for ever longer distances to see how I do until I thought I was ready, I'll go to St. Cloud, then I'll ride to Duluth, then I'll go to Thunder Bay, and I'll see how I do. To me, that's essentially getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready to go. To me, it's an enormous waste of time. It's pushing paper around your desk in a big circle without making a decision and taking action. Just go. So I would just jump in and learn along the way. Let the trip itself teach me what I needed to do. I get better as I go. We all do. When I came back from the journey, I found this patent quote, and it pretty much described 100% what I did. And you can read the quote, but essentially, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. So within 30 days of resigning from my company, I bought a bike and gear, jammed it in a box, and flew to Anchorage. June 19th, 2012, Delta nonstop, Minneapolis to Anchorage, 5.5 hour flight, bikes in the hold of the plane. It was a stunning day. I've got a window seat. I'm transfixed to the window, half in shock. For the last 3 hours, looking out the window, this is all I saw. Glaciated mountain wilderness. Do the trigonometry from 40,000 feet. You can see 250 miles to the horizon. There was no sign of civilization. Do the further math. 3 hours at 500 miles an hour. It's 1,500 miles in this segment alone. For the first time, I went, whoa. The visceral reality of looking out the window and seeing that was daunting. What have I signed up for? Maybe my friends are right. Maybe I am delusional. So the night before I was going to ride out of Anchorage, I went out to a little establishment called the F Street Station. What I thought of as my last supper. I was joined with 4 locals about what I was about to attempt. Tiffany, the bartender, listened in. She's an expert. She's an expert on bar talk BS. She's used to tall tales. She's seen us all. We're all the Pecos Bills. Yeah, I've ridden tornadoes. Yeah, she knew exactly what she had in front of her. But Tiffany didn't interfere or join in at all. Why interfere with a group of half-lit guys? But I could tell. Tiffany doubted every single word I said. More on that later. I'll come back to Tiffany at the very end. So June 20th, 2012, I pedaled solo out of Anchorage. I was wobbling down 6th Avenue. First time ever I rode a loaded bike. I never rode it in Minneapolis. I never packed it in Minneapolis. I never rode in clips in Minneapolis. First time I ever did any of it was pedaling out of Anchorage. And then I had this unwieldy sinking feeling that I was overloaded. I thought it was going to kill me, but there's no looking back. I'm just going to have to get used to it. And I pedaled into the complete unknown, into the vast fog of uncertainty. It was a blind adventure. It was going to take me where I'd never been before. I wanted explosive growth. This was exactly what I was looking for. I had a rough idea of the route, but I never measured or tried to do a takeoff to see how much distance the whole thing was. I didn't know how much time it would take. I thought it was going to take me 4 to 5 months. I was just roughing it. I didn't know how far I'd get each day. I didn't know where I'd camp each night. I only had one rule. I hate rules. I only had one rule. Just give an honest effort every day and carve distance. That's my only rule. And then I'd take what the day gave me. Some days gave me more, some days gave me less. I had to go 350 miles north before I could start heading south. So I was just below the Arctic Circle. And it's kind of deflating to know you're going away from your destination before you can turn towards it. In the end, the trip ended up being 3,634 miles. It took me 51 days. Of those 51 days, I pedaled 43. The other days were rest days. I had to battle enormous physical forces, gravity, headwinds, gear and chain friction, rolling resistance. More specifically on gravity, I had endless nightmare climbs, some 40 to 50 miles. I was going up and over ridges all day long, up and over, down into the valley, up and over, down into the valley. It just repeated itself every single day, all day long. And I was lifting 300 pounds. I was about 200, my bike was about 100. So that was the combined weight, is 300 pounds. All I knew was I'd start at sea level and I'd end at sea level. So at the end of the journey, I did a back of the envelope calculation. And I calculated I did about 350,000 vertical feet in 43 days of actual pedaling, which is equivalent to 12 Mount Everests from sea level to the peak. I had runaway train downhills, sometimes 20 to 30 mile downhills, plunging deep into the valley. My bike is going 45 to 50 miles an hour. The tires are screaming and whining and yelling at me, trying to claw and hang onto the road. And it harkened back to the old Star Trek when Scotty says, "Captain, you can't take it anymore." But I let her roll. It was exhilarating. So I just let it go and hoped. But a crash, yeah, a crash would suck. Anyway, I had shrieking headwinds. In the far north, I never looked at a wind map, so I didn't realize that the polar vortex has a prevailing winds into your face for that first couple thousand miles. And the winds turned out to be worse than the hills. Seems like the hills ended. The winds didn't. Big distances, remote and alone. You don't know, will your body break down? I've never been here before. Will you get appendicitis? Will you have a heart attack? There's no nearby medical facilities. You're pretty much on your own. And I never went and got a physical. I never went to a doctor beforehand. Because the way I looked at it is, what's a doc going to tell you? Great idea? No, they're risk averse. They're not paid to tell you to do these types of things. But I just plain felt good. I just let that be my diagnosis. And oh, one more thing. Every single sign in Alaska was riddled with bullet holes. I had 20 bear encounters, 4 grizzly, 16 black. I was yelling at bears every single day. And along the way, someone thought I needed some intellectual assistance. So they provide these helpful signs, like, really? I never thought of that. Then I had this quirky thought. Does that mean don't feed the bears? Or don't be feed for the bears? Because when you're out there alone, you get a little twisted. I had 2 moose encounters face to face, Mexican standoff. Statistically, moose cause more traumatic injury and deaths to humans than bears do. And one morning, just outside my camp, there was a cougar lurking. And these wet prints were on the road, just came out of a clay marsh. But if I saw him, I know the call. We all do. Here, kitty, kitty. And then there's the risk of frontier bandits. There are a number of signs along the highways about missing people, especially on what was called the Yellowhead Highway. The nickname for that highway is called the Highway of Tears. It's highlighted in the Outside issue, Outside magazine issue, July of 2012, about the numerous missing people on the Yellowhead Highway. So sure, bad things could happen. But my mindset is, I might be riskier to them. And then I ran into what was probably Manson's twin double. High in the Redwoods, Northern California. Lofty, murky fog. It was a surreal setting. Manson and I, face to face, chin to chin. We had the strangest conversation. And look what people come to me when they've read the book and they say, weren't you scared? I said, no, why does he get to be the tough guy? Why shouldn't he be scared of me? So of course, you run into these things, and then throughout, I was in the land of Bigfoot, and I knew what he'd look like because there was a poster in every window. And all this leads to a broader discussion about risk. When you're laying in the tent at night, you sometimes wonder, am I truly alone? You hear the snap of a twig, 2:30 in the morning. What was that? Bear? Bigfoot? Look at where your mind goes. It naturally defers to the worst. It's more likely a raccoon, a skunk, or a porcupine. Most boogeymen are imagination gone wild. So for God's sakes, You can't be afraid of your shadow and let fears loom larger than the real risk. You got to consider, what is the real downside here? It's often much, much, much less than your fears. And there are many more risks. We don't have time to go into the laundry list of risks. But my way of looking at risk is I gave everything a simple test. It was a binary test. I called it the big deal, little deal test. As I came upon a situation, if I don't get killed or maimed, or can't get killed and maimed in this situation, it's a little deal. And there's a corollary to that. Discomfort isn't danger. There's many, many, many times I'm starving. I'm cold to the bone. I'm wet inside and out. And I'm exhausted. It just goes with the journey. But I wasn't going to die. It's a little thing. The reason I have an orange on here is because there's one day when I pedaled 100 miles and I thought what was going to be a town about 25 miles out, I was targeting that town. I came into sunset, sun was down, it's dark, there's no town. There's an empty field, I pitch my tent, dig in my bag. After 100 miles, all I have is an orange. So I had an orange for dinner. It took me about an hour to eat that orange. I was like a great ape in the ape house, playing with the orange, inside your mouth, outside, twisted sideways, you know. But you know what? So I was uncomfortable. I'm not going to die. It's a little deal. And related to all this, I think we all naturally love to seek safety and security, but I think we all play too safe. For me, explosive growth didn't happen in the safe harbors. And carrying it a step further, expert advisors and everybody who was instructing me along the way always advised the most conservative action. They're generally trying to be helpful, but in their view, it's better to be conservatively right than potentially flame out wrong. But I learned that the flame out zone is where real growth and change occurs. It's where you have to dig in. It's where you got to become creative and resourceful. It's where you wonder if you can do it, and then you do. Here's a sidebar. I coached youth hockey. I encourage the kids, be really aggressive. What I want you to do is take away the opponent's time and space. And of course I didn't want them to take penalties. But when they did, I accepted it. It's just part of the game. They'd come back to the bench and those little eyes would be looking at you and they'd wonder if you'd be mad at them. And I just look at them and I say, look, you're never in the penalty box. You're never in the action. Same thing with the flame out zones. If you're never in the flame out zones, you're not pressing your boundaries. Or discovering and unleashing your deeper talent and realizing your full potential. People were exceptional across the board on this journey. I met all types. Fabulous to the funky. Unbelievably great and generous. They filled water bottles, gave me candy bars, checked in on my health. They would just do health checks. They'd come in and say, dude, you're out here alone. You okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I can't overstate the exceptionalism of the most ordinary of people and how they went out of their way to help me proceed. And one specific and exemplary story of this, on the Alaska Highway, late in the day, about 5 o'clock p.m., I was 85 miles into my ride. I'm going up a hill. I'm in the wrong gear. I'm losing momentum. I'm straining in the pedals. I got too much pressure in the pedals, and I'm losing my momentum. I got to downshift. I downshift. My chain comes across a sprocket, and my chain explodes. Flops to the pavement. And there I am, pedaling air, like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. You've seen the visual. And then you've come to a stop. I lay my bike down, I walk back, and I pick up my chain. I'm standing there, 5 o'clock, alone. I haven't got a clue how to fix this. I was about to lay down, pitch my tent, suck my thumb, and worry about it in the morning, figure it out. And then I look in the far distance, and I see this yellow dot. It's almost like it's emerging from a mirage. And it's moving closer, closer. Oh my God, it's another rider. Someone's riding toward me. A woman named Sarah Lamaji. By happenstance, she happened to be from Minneapolis. She pulled up. She sees me standing there, forlorn, completely clueless, wind in the pines. She looks at me, calmly works the problem. Says, there's a way to fix this. Do you have a manual? No, don't have a manual. She says, I do. By the way, she happened to have the exact same bike I had. She digs deep in her pack. She pulls out the manual. We go to the chain section. She says, oh, do you have a snap link? I don't know. I don't know if I have a snap link. See, when I bought the bike at REI, I told the guy, I said, hey, walk down the parts rack and just grab and throw in a bag what you take if you did a trip like this. That was the extent of my parts planning. And so he played the parts rack like a piano, jammed it all in a bag, wrapped it up, and I jammed it in the bottom of my pack. I didn't know. I dig deep in that parts bag. There's a snap link. So Sarah and I are down on our hands and knees, all, our 4 hands working it, restringing the chain, trying to get the snap link. Click. I'm back in business. She's an amazing person. She didn't criticize. She simply covered my deficiencies and my willful ignorance, and she did it with a smile. And then at the end she said, do you have another snap link? I said, no. She says, I got 3. Why don't you take one of mine? You're probably going to need it. Now, I'm not a particularly religious person, but the best way to describe her is as a guardian angel. Talk about divine intervention. This was a miracle that she came along. I couldn't have moved on without her. As I thought about it in the following days, it wasn't lost on me that she was the epitome of what you'd look for in a true teammate. Someone overlooking my faults and enhancing my strengths. She let the little things go, and she focused on what mattered. And things, and that goodness that she exemplified in that piece happened in different forms day in and day out as people were trying to help me proceed through the journey. About 2 weeks into my ride, I was coming up to the Great Divide in the Yukon. After 2 long days of a general rise, getting to the top of the divide and then culminating in a hell of a climb, I stood looking out the crest of the Continental Divide into the vast Yukon. I was exhausted, but I was exhilarated at the crest. I couldn't ignore the symbolism of the divide. Divided where 2 river systems went different directions. One went 2,600 miles to the Arctic, and the other one went 2,300 miles to the Pacific. But the divide also symbolized to me, it just hit me, it's the divide between my past and my new future. And although my end outcome was far from certain, by now I clearly knew I was going to end up in a different place and changed. And what I also clearly knew is that I was making my future. I wasn't waiting for it to happen to me. And I wasn't waiting for someone else to make it happen for me. Go make your future. Also at the crest of the divide, a pickup truck pulls in as I'm standing there. 2 brave Army soldiers step out of the pickup truck. And they come up and we jaw for about 3 to 5 minutes about what I was doing. And they're just shaking their head. And they said, is there anything we can do for you? I said, well, yeah, if you have a little extra water. They said, you can top off my water bottles. They said, we can do that. So they did, and they came back. When they came back, they had this decal, YBY, AWC. And I looked at them quizzically, and they blurted, you bet your ass we can. That's the battle cry of our unit. It's reserved only for those in our unit, but based upon what you're doing, you're now an honorary member. And I just felt so proud. I said, well, I'm so honored. And I'm also glad we're on the same side because I'd hate to fight you 2 nasty dudes. But it was a simple, bold message of can do. They looked at things of how to get things done, not why it can't be done. So much said and so little. I love that. It became a beacon and a touchstone to me. And I leaned on that touchstone one day on what's called the Cassiar Highway. The most remote stretch of highway I was on, 600 miles, coming out of the Yukon, northern British Columbia. 600 miles, and there's about 4 food stops. And that's what was critical to me is, where's the food? On one stretch of it, there was a place called Bell 2. It was a little resort. It was a heli-ski resort, an oasis carved into the vast wilderness. And the next town away from that downstream was another town called Kitwanga, 155 miles away. So I camped at Bell 2 one night, stocked up with food the next day, no big deal. I'm gonna take off for Kitwanga, and I'll wilderness camp. I'll get 75 miles, I'll plop in the bush, get up the next day and complete it. It happened to be an extraordinarily warm day. Most of the days up there were cool. This was really warm. It was over 80 degrees. I went over 2 mountain ranges, came down into a low skunky marshy area, kind of buggy, and I'm running out of water. I'm under 20 ounces. And I'm at about 75 miles, I'm at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No big deal. I got a water pump. I'll just pull up to this little stream. It was kind of a brackish stream, but I pull up to it, and I'm gonna just top off my water bottles. First pull on the pump, snap. I snapped the lever. Now I got a different problem. Now I can't pump water. Now I'm like a pilot running out of gas, looking for an airstrip. And when you're sitting there, you're thinking there, what to do, what to do. But you don't have time to think too long, because time is distance, and the day is getting late already. As I thought about it, I said, you know, it's really weird. I'm only down to 20 ounces. It's going to cost me more water to stop, set up camp, get up in the morning, break down camp, and proceed with only 20 ounces of water. And the second thing is, for some strange reason, I felt like I was getting stronger as the day went on. I don't know what it was. And I thought about it for about a minute. I said, I'm going to try and go the whole way. So 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I took off 80 more miles to Kitwanga. I ended up doing 155 miles that day. Now mind you, I've never ridden 100 miles in my life. I was in uncharted territory. I didn't know if my body would bonk, or what some distance people call get the bear, which is symbolic of the bear claws into you and drags you down, which where I was could be an actual reality. And I was in the saddle, actual pedal time, 13 hours, 18 minutes, because it rolled over the 12-hour time. It's the first time in my life that I had ever ridden over 100 miles. I pull into Kitwanga. Sun's touching the horizon. By luck, I see campground. So I peel off the campground. There's 2 RVs sitting down in the campground. I come pulling in, and I did a public beller. Anybody got a beer? This guy says, yeah, I think I got one left. I said, dude, I can't take your last beer. He says, how far are you gone? I said, 155 miles. He says, this beer is yours. I took that beer, and I snapped and I popped that top, and I shot it like a college kid right in front of the guy. If anybody wants the best beer you've ever had in your life, ride 155 miles. That's a pretty damn good beer. So, August 8th, day 50, I arrived in San Diego at my brother's house. He and his wife, Kathy, live in San Diego. That evening, I'm perched high on his deck. I'm overlooking Mission Bay. I see the Pacific in the far distance. Tomorrow's going to be a ceremonial 25-mile ride to tag the border. I'm done. I made it. I mentally checked out. Unfortunately, one day too early. My worst decision of the trip was still ahead of me. Kathy, my brother Steve's wife, was dying to be part of this story. I want to take you to the border. I want to lead. I want to go with you. I want to do it. I know how to get to the border, and I didn't want it. But I'm staying at their house. She wore me down, and I relented. I said, "Oh, what the hell? What can happen in the last 25 miles? What can happen?" Well, the next morning, it happened. So I'm following Kathy. 25 miles left. We're going about 18 miles an hour. And I'm like the wingman of the Blue Angels. I'm looking at her back tire. I'm mentally checked out. I wasn't making my own decisions anymore. I was congratulating myself And I didn't even like some of the decisions that she was making, but I just said, we're gonna be done really soon. Kathy cut inside the construction cones. This was freshly poured, sopping wet concrete. I didn't know what was happening because I mentally checked out, but I see her going down. My mind is saying really quickly, oh, that's gonna hurt. Bam, I'm down too. There we are, both laying in the wet concrete. So when you zoom in closer, there I am in the concrete. And this is what a paleontologist was gonna find 200 million years with me laying there. But I hit hard. I thought I tore my right ear off. There was such a blunt force, I couldn't feel it. I was feeling for my ear, but I couldn't tell if I had it. I drove my right shoulder into the far wall, and the concrete was about 18 inches deep. And I ripped open my left middle finger, and I could see bone and tendon in my finger. Again, I checked out one day too early when I thought I was done, when I wasn't. Most mountain climbing accidents happen on the way down. The climbers are checked out, they've tagged the top, and they're releasing. I've read every book. Intellectually, I know that. And I did the same thing. So what was I thinking? 3,634 total miles. I've done 3,609 riding alone. Last 25, quit using my own mind. That was my worst decision of the journey. I quit following my own lead. I wantonly followed when I should have led. I think we probably all have examples of when you follow when you should have led. I knew better. I didn't act on it. That's my failure. So our bikes are banged up. They wouldn't work. Tires are popped. Wheels bent a little bit. I'm not mechanical. I worked for about an hour and a half. I got the bikes repaired, and we wobbled the last 7 miles to the border and tagged the border. And I even said to Kathy, I'm going to tell you what, if I can't fix mine, I'm taking yours, because I'm tagging this border today, come hell or high water. But I eventually fixed them, and we wobbled to the border. In the end, I bent the frame of my bike. I ruined its structural integrity. So my brand new bike and my sole companion for the entire journey was now a throwaway. Steve scooped me up at the border, hustled me off to urgent care, and like my bike, I was bent too, but I wasn't dead. In fact, I was more alive than ever. Separate from my bike, I'd heal. We can all heal from our lumps and from our missteps. And regardless of my lumps, to me, the banged up new was so much better than the complacent old. So in a snap, the trip was over, but not the journey. The journey continues. So how was I most enlightened? I'm going to just, rather than tell you a laundry list of how I was enlightened in every single way, I'm going to conclude, it's going to be a series of stories with 3 broad themes of the most impactful lessons I learned on this journey. 1, people are so much more capable than they think. When I arrived back home, my youngest son, Justin, was playing hockey for the Gophers at the time. It was mid-August 2012. He and I have a little conversation. He says, Dad, you wanted to stretch, right? I said, right. And you thought this might take you 4 to 5 months, right? I said, right. He says, you did this in 51 days, right? I said, right. He says, then Dad, it wasn't a big enough stretch. I was about to wring his neck. Slay me. But as I thought about it, he did have a point. Because now in a funny way, honest to God, this trip doesn't seem to me to be as big a deal. What looked daunting up front now is not as big a deal. I thought I was capable, but I was so much more capable than even I thought I was. So obviously, the envelope of capabilities exploded. Here's what's really interesting. Those capabilities were already there. The trip uncovered. Everybody has inner strengths. They're laying dormant. A stretch awakens them. So continuing on this theme of you can do so much more, upfront big hairy problems and big stretches do look daunting, like this total big distance. But breaking it down, the big daunting problem is just a series of solvable smaller problems. Think about it. Break it into a bunch of bite-sized problems. 3,634 miles is just 3,600 mile days. 72 50-mile days. It's 144 25-mile days. Who can't do that? Who can't do that? Everybody can do that. Everybody in this room could do that. You guys wouldn't be the ones I challenge because you guys could probably do it in spades. And stretches go beyond the physical. They come in every form of pressing yourself, of seeking the exceptional. So here's a story. I wrote a daily blog. I didn't really want to, but my daughter made me write it. Unbeknownst to me, it had 14,000 hits. People surprisingly liked the stories of the nightly blog. And so when I got home, they encouraged me to write the book. I didn't do this journey to write a book. I didn't want to write a book. I didn't do it to get material to write a book. It wasn't on my bucket list. But after a couple months of being home, I said, why not? That could be my next stretch. But I do have a little problem. I'm not an author. I'd never written anything. But then again, you know what? I wasn't a cyclist either. So I just thought of the overall story structure, get my words on paper. So I wrote a manuscript. And I gave it to a very experienced woman that I trusted. I didn't let a lot of people read it and comment on the manuscript because I didn't want to be written by committee. I don't want anybody changing my voice. But I gave my masterpiece to this expert. She took it. Came back a week later and I'm anxious as to what she thought. I said, what do you think? She gave me a 2-word appraisal. It sucks. It sucks. I don't think that's a buying signal. So anyway, that was pretty blunt. It's not exactly what I would call supportive, but you know what? I also knew in my heart, I had the stories. It's in there somewhere. How do I recast it? How do I retell these stories? With all authenticity, but how do I do this? So I kept at it. I reworked the book, and I did multiple rewrites. And lo and behold, now it's won an International Book Award for Literary Excellence. I mean, what? Am I on candid camera? Go figure. I never thought I'd get any kind of award. Never in my life did I anticipate writing a book, let alone getting an award for a book. But I don't tell this story to promote myself or to promote my book. I tell it to encourage you guys to step out. Because everybody has things they're really great at and they don't act on them. Trust yourself and unleash those things that are laying there innate and dormant. People can do so much more. And the thing that's really interesting is don't define yourself by what you've done. That's your past. Define yourself by what your capabilities are, what you're capable of doing. That's your transformation. That's your inflection point. And that's your bright future. And for God's sakes, don't let anybody else define you and what you're capable of doing. And how will you ever know your best work if you don't attempt big dreams? You can't. So what I really came up with a little slogan to myself is, you know, I realized is that over time, small stretches have shaped my future. Big stretches have made my future. So on the small stretches, what I got is I got nominal growth. But when you stretch big, big stretches make your future. When you think big, when you dream big, when you shoot for the moon, it changes the trajectory. You hit the inflection point, and that stretch goes from nominal growth to explosive growth and enormous value creation. Think big, big stretches, bigger than you ever thought you could do. So up front, I thought I'd just have a series of really good new beer drinking stories. But it did turn into so much more. This stretch has created a new future that I never contemplated. I'm doing things now, and I'm with people like you that I would have never been able to do if I didn't attempt this thing. And I wanted to say I discovered it by mistake, but more accurately, the journey uncovered it. So now I've flogged that theme to death. That's theme number one. You can do so much more than you think. Theme number 2, it took a team. When I got home, my brother Steve said to me, hey, would you do this trip alone again? I said, Steve, I didn't do this trip alone. I pedaled alone. But it took a team to get me there. I wouldn't have made it without numerous people along the way helping me, going out of their way to help me proceed. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to interrupt their life to help me along. Sarah's patience and preparedness to fix my chain. Joel is a rider I ran into who taught me how to repair my flats. I'm not proud of that, but I forgot how to fix my flats. Claudia's humanity. Cassier Highway, 4 food stops. I was told there would be food here. There was no food. Claudia ran a jade mine, had a little jade store. She lived above it. She took me into her home, fed me dinner, said, go camp in the woods, come back at breakfast. There's no food for 100 miles. I gotta feed you, you gotta eat, and then good luck getting to the next destination. Chen's creativity and hospitality on a cold, driving, rainy night in Washington State, putting me into this sleazy trailer, but I was snug as a bug. And Jerry and Bonnie giving me snacks on the Golden Gate to kind of power me forward. And it took my unguided missile sister-in-law to enhance the whole experience. So Steve's own support in the end as well to haul me to the urgent care. It's all too easy to overlook who's supporting and helping us every single day perform. Those people and many others went out of their way to propel me. I couldn't have gotten through without them. And what I'm going to suggest to everybody in this room is beyond simple saying a simple thank you. That's kind of too perfunctory. Find your words. Tell them why they matter. Which now gives me the opportunity to use my words on why you matter to me. August 5th, day 47, Southern California. Lompoc, over the headlands to Gaviota State Park, right on the Pacific Ocean. Late in the day, lonely road, no traffic, none. You had the sunburned Amber Ponderosa, and outstood in that, came upon this lone sentinel. Standing guard, just me and this magnificent flag. Ramrod straight, strong, powerful symbol, snapping in the wind, proclaiming its presence. Every snap of the flag was like a gunshot salute, but with every sharp crack, I didn't hear a gunshot. I heard freedom. Free to set my own course. Free to pursue a dream in this great land of opportunity that we've got. This magnificent symbol of freedom, strength, opportunity reminded me of what we all do have as I rode alone toward the sunset. I was on a 17-mile uphill at that part. As I got lost in the symbolism of the flag, I unconsciously accelerated on my uphill. And here's where I'm going to use my words with you. You guys. Fire, police, rescue, vets, soldiers. You guys are the ones who sacrifice all. Put yourselves out there every day to have my back, to provide me the freedom that I could even attempt this type of journey. That's why you matter to me. I now salute you, and I'd like to have you guys all give yourselves a hand for what you provide me and the rest of society every single day to let us pursue our dreams. Please give yourselves a hand. So that was the second theme. It took a team. Third theme is find and inspire people's best. So I wrote the blog I told you about. I didn't know what effect it was having on people. When I got home, people started telling me how the blog affected them. They were following it every night. Here's one representative story. A woman named Ann. We're at a bar restaurant called Hazelwood. There's a group of people. She and her husband are more acquaintances than friends. And I'm up about ready to order. She came up, she says, I read your blog every day, Jerry. And I just say, how this hillbilly flounder in the wilderness? I blew her off. Bartender, give me a Mongol Blue Moon. She goes, no, Jerry. And then she got really introspective. She almost looked through me. No, Jerry, you don't get it. I always wanted to do a relief mission to Haiti, but I was too afraid for my own personal safety. If you could do what you're doing, I decided I could do this trip, this relief mission. So I just went. And that was my stretch. It's the boldest thing I've ever done. And outside of my family, it's the best thing I've ever done. And I'm planning on going back. She caught me completely off guard. What she did was so much more meaningful and purposeful than what I did. It actually made me feel really shallow. But it had an enormous inspiring effect back on me. Because when I realized helping her unleash her best and get more out of herself, unforeseen, it crystallized to me what my true calling is. To inspire and bring out the best in the people around you. Bring out the best in others. Encourage them to do more than they thought. It's not about me, it's about others. How can I draw their best out? That's my battle cry. That's what I'll fight for. What a hell of a discovery that was. So when you actively live these themes, and beyond them being the right human things to do, these actions also make great organizational and business sense. Because when you do these things, beyond just the intellectual construct, but actually live them and do them, it tilts the playing field to your advantage. And it gives you the edge. And when you have the edge, you win. The margins of champions are often razor thin. You only need to win by a nose. In business, it might be a contract. For you guys, moments matter. Moments. The slightest moments matter. Here's the example that goes with this. 2017 Tour de France. Just 7 months ago. Winning time, 86 hours, 20 minutes, 55 seconds. Second place was 54 seconds behind. Do the math on that time differential. It's 2/10,000ths time differential. Stated differently, 2/100ths of 1% time differential. Meant the difference between the champion, who got 2.5 times the purse, got the yellow jersey, gets all the endorsements, gets their place in history, and someone who's forgotten. That's how the margins, so when you do these little things and take the stretches and unleash yourself and those around you, you win. And when you win and create value, you win big. So it's no secret that the pace of change is blistering. Organizations are getting disrupted and made irrelevant every day. Or procedures, things that you are doing, there's new techniques, new ways. Disrupt the old techniques. Do new things. Let's talk about it in terms of companies. Sears used to be the Walmart. They're gone. BlackBerry. When was the last time you saw a BlackBerry? How about Nokia, the little brick? Remember that was the popular phone? Or the Razor, how cool that was? Those companies are all gone. They're absorbed into other companies. Competition is striving to put us out of business. New techniques in your business means critical seconds that can make the difference between a great outcome and a not so great outcome. So I think what we all need to do is we need rapid innovation and change to stay relevant. In this age of massive disruption, be the disruptor. Don't be the disrupted. Don't wait for someone else to shake your tree. Go shake your own tree. The old ways won't work going forward. And be willing to break the rules. Rules to me are confining. I'll take judgment over rules every day of the week. Or, relative to this trip, here's the way I looked at rules. If you have a grizzly on your ass, don't go the speed limit. So final story. I'm going to circle back to Tiffany. She's the one who overheard me, John, with the locals about what I was going to do. My son Justin was playing a weekend series with the Gophers up in Anchorage against the Anchorage Seawolves. I have frequent flyer miles. I was going to fly back to Anchorage and watch his series. My brother Steve had business in Alaska. We met up in Alaska, went back to the F Street station, went right back to the same place, the same spot I was sitting the night before I was ready to leave. I said to Steve, this is the corner of the bar where I sat the night before I left on the journey. And Tiffany was again the bartender that night. And she's close and listening in. And I pointed to my frosty beer mug and I said, and she was bartending that night. We saw she was listening. Steve looks at her and says, do you remember him? She looked directly in the eyes, says, oh yeah, I remember you. I just didn't believe you. I just smiled, a Mona Lisa smile, and had the bubble thought, you bet your ass we can. Now, relative to you guys, I've had the privilege of meeting with Chief and some of his great members that are in this room right now. And I got to see firsthand the exceptionalism of that team. Looking forward, I know exactly what he's thinking. You bet your ass you can too. Thank you so much. We'll crush it in 2018, and thank you for letting me spend this precious time with you. Thank you.
I know that makes me look 10 pounds heavier. Don't worry about that. Jerry, there's, we appreciate your words of wisdom, and after reading your book, it's an amazing story, and only paraphrased tonight. So actually, what Jerry's been very generous. We've got copies available of his book tonight for everybody, every member of our staff. You have a chance to read it, signed by the illustrious award-winning author who didn't ever want to be one, and we're going to make sure that everybody gets to read this story in full. Secondly, Jerry, there's a couple things that I'd like to give you as a gift, a parting gift. We have a gift here that this was a cell phone charging cell, so you seem to always be without resources. So this is a chance. This is a chance for you to have a resource that has our name on it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's great.
And most importantly, one of the symbols that we have in the service is the challenge coin. The challenge coin is a symbolic, traditional symbol of membership in our team. We take it seriously. It talks about what our culture is. It talks about our mission. But by giving it to you, it means that we've accepted you as an integral part of our team. And I'd like to give you our challenge coin and thank you for your words this evening.
I feel so honored. Thank you very much. That was terrific. Thank you. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And again, thanks for your patience and your attentiveness tonight. Hopefully you found Jerry's message helpful, insightful, and in some ways hopefully motivating for the things that we face this in 2018 and on. We decided as a command staff it would be good to kind of talk a little bit about, we've been awarding and recognizing, and we've got a story about pushing and asking more of ourselves and trying to define how we can do more with the energy and passion that we have. So we thought it would be a good idea tonight to just share a little bit about kind of where we were and where we are and where we're going to go. This slide illustrates a list, and I'm going to use Jerry's term. This is what many of us, if we started in 2013 or 14 and said, over the course of the next 3 years, these are the things that we're going to do, that would have been a flameout zone. That would have been more than maybe many of us could even accept as a challenge. But the truth is, that slide, that list of accomplishments that you accomplished, didn't exist before 2014. Those things are a result of highly engaged, highly passionate, extremely intelligent, well-intentioned people who believed and took on the role of the first and second follower. who evangelized that message in a way that we could never expect, allowing the command staff to do nothing more than to get out of your way and provide you whatever support you needed to make it happen. That list of accomplishments could not have happened in that short a period of time without your involvement, your energy, and I would argue, without you, period. It is an exceptional list. I mean, you can look at that accomplishment and know that what we do today is a direct result of those things that we accomplished over that period of time. So with that, you know, if we'd have said that back and then, we'd have said, well, we can't do that. There's no way we can do that. Chief, we are busy. We have no time for that. I don't know if you know this, Chief, but we are not, that's just more than we can do. But just like when we talk about downhills don't come free, once we understand our capacity to achieve more than we believe we can, that's what it looks like in St. Louis Park Fire Department. And because we achieved that kind of understanding of more about how hard we could push ourselves and what we could accomplish with fewer energy than we thought we could, the next thing that happened was what we could accomplish in a year. This is 2017.
's got color. I like 2017. You will remember that in 2017, I asked you to get plugged in. Well, you did. Last year, 17 of you delivered departmental trainings, an impact that was felt department-wide, but most powerfully amongst the 17, because we learn the most when we teach. 11 of you helped design and build training props, delivering more exciting and unique training. This year, 2018, we're going to go further. If you have a passion or a willingness to learn, step up, be part of this growth. We plan to do more. In EMS, we began the process of ensuring all of you are nationally registered emergency medical responders. We'll complete that this year. We added Narcan as a variance, developed a new partnership and program with Care Resource Connections to find better solutions for our high utilization patients, and we trained 3 of the first community EMTs in the state. Using these changes, I believe you raised the level of service to our citizens. This work will continue in 2018. We are already implementing our next variants, adding nebulization to the interventions we can perform. We will be sending more of you to the next community EMT class this spring. And we hope to add more variances and new programs as the year progresses.
Thanks, Hugo. So between these 2 slides, there are 115 different initiatives. These are the ones we could remember. I think there are a lot more actually out there that we've already forgotten, that are things that we do today that we weren't doing 4 years ago. How do we accomplish this? Why did this happen? And I think it starts with trust. And we needed to trust you, and you needed to trust us, and I think we did that. Maybe we weren't 100% bought in initially, but when we said, you can get any uniform you want, any uniform component you want, we trusted you that you wouldn't break our budget, and you didn't. And we've been able to grow from that little initiative to many, many, many others. But 115 things, the people upstairs, we're not doing that. That's not done by 3 or 4 people on the second floor. That's done by everybody in this room, this team. This team that has stretched already for this organization, has found their passion, and we've tried to help you follow that passion. One of the easiest things I used to tell people in my business career was when they were looking at a business opportunity, and people I worked with were looking at business opportunities all day long, the easiest thing to do in business was to say no. No, this isn't the right customer, it's not the right prospect, it's not the right time of year, it's not the right deal. The hardest thing to do is to say yes. Because you have to really work when you say yes. You have to figure out how to make that potential prospect into a sold deal. Or to take that project that someone really wants to do and to say, yeah, all right, let me figure out a way to see if we can fund that. And that's what this is made up of. And that's what that last slide was made up of. It's just saying, okay, yeah, I think we can do this. We'll figure out a way to pay for it. And you guys ran with it. So my compliments to you. Having an engaged workforce, and we talked about this in our first 2 years a lot, we used the term see it, own it, solve it, do it. And when I very first got here, people were seeing things, because they're saying, hey chief, this needs to be fixed, this needs to happen over here. Today, I have people that see things, they own it. Usually when they're telling me, they've already fixed it, unless they need some money for it. And so the problems are being solved. They're being solved at the best possible level, at the level of how it impacts the organization. So it really feels good to be a part of the St. Louis Park Fire Department. Our asset accumulation phase has been pretty vigorous for the past 3 years, and we're putting that in the rearview mirror. We're done buying trucks. We're done buying major equipment. I'm not saying that there won't be other ideas that come forward and we'll figure out a way to get it done. But as we go forward, I think what we really want to do is how do we continue to develop and grow our future leaders? How do we make our workforce the best possible workforce, best fire department in the Twin Cities area? Kerry couldn't be here, but he put together some notes and some things that our fire prevention group has accomplished. As you know, we have three in the office, and we have our 3 shift fire prevention specialists, and we have our community outreach coordinator in Nancy. So Adam, Jen, Tim, Sean, Eva, up until very recently, and of course Karen. Since we really started focusing on fire prevention, and it's not that we ignored fire prevention, but fire prevention was sort of everyone's responsibility, and we were doing a good job. But by having a focused team, we now have all of our major occupancies, and it's well over 600 occupancies. They're pre-plans and their contacts, they're all loaded in our system, and our firefighters, when they're arriving on scene, they have that information at their fingertips. And if those of you that were on the 301 Chillard fire 4 or 5 weeks ago, the incoming officer, Lieutenant Yackel, was pulling up the address as he was coming into Chillard. There's 180 units, he had a possible fire, and he knew exactly where to park the truck. That's a big building, and the people on that call, if you go to the wrong side of that building, you could have a 200-yard walk. So that information was crucial. That's an unsprinkled 3-story apartment building with 180 units in a C shape. And if that fire had gotten away, we could have lost a big portion of that building, and we had a lot of people in that building. So they did a great job on that fire, but positioning that equipment and those resources was integral, and that was a direct result of having that information at their fingertips. Our FPS program, our 3 shift inspectors, along with our office staff, they, in 2017, saw a 91% increase in commercial and multi-housing inspections from prior years. And our community outreach coordinator, She contacted 37, we had a 37% increase in our community contacts. So the people we touch, a 37% increase there. So where do we go from here? What we're going to focus on, at least out of the operations division, our number one priority is firefighter health and wellness and safety. Developing our future leaders, preparing our workforce for tomorrow's challenges, continuing to leverage technology to improve service, and our job is to remove the barriers and try to get out of your way. Thanks. Chief.
So that kind of leaves us with the future, right? That's an exciting concept and one that we've embraced more than we ever have before in this organization. So at the end of 2014, the city manager asked all department directors to create a one big thing strategic plan. And we talked about the one big thing. We talked about it for most of 2015. It was a plan that would stretch from 2015 to 2020, a plan that really fulfilled the city's goals of quality, collaboration, and responsiveness. Now, within that one big thing document, we identified a 5-year plan focusing on 4 key areas. We had to have an all-hazard response and services. We were going to leverage regional capabilities. We were going to drive community-wide risk reduction, and we would support citywide resiliency. That plan detailed that over the next 18 to 24 months, we stated that we would leverage our part-time workforce and make it more of a resource. We would do a needs assessment, contingency plan for major events, identify and create unique programs, and revenue leveraging new technology. So if you look at the items in those 2 slides, it really is a representation, and it confirms that we did remain focused on that one big thing, that plan that we detailed in 2015. So as we approach the next phase of this kind of process, I think it's necessary that we more clearly identify what our strategy and our tactical objectives need to be to sustain the progress. So with that, I have completed and have submitted to the city manager for his approval in draft form a strategic plan that goes from 2018 to 2023. This plan outlines 10 areas or initiative areas supporting all 4 divisions of the fire department. As we look at the fire department in the future, we're going to look at the fire department as 4 areas or divisions of responsibility: prevention and education, suppression and response, EMS and community health management, and then an emergency management as the 4 divisions. This plan will definitely, over the next 4 months, require meetings with all stakeholders, both internal and external, to kind of go through the plan and understand the impacts that this plan might have on any of you or anybody else within our community. And we intend to do that. The goal here is to not create a document that never gets looked at or used. We already have one of those. This is a strategic plan that we intend to go through and follow through and be accountable to. And I think you'll find that once the document is rolled out for consideration, that you'll find that the document is well in line with the things that you talk to us about in the way of needs, staffing, future initiatives, and the desire to be a different operating unit within our community. It supports that. So we're excited about that, and the city manager was excited to receive it. It's about 40 pages of amazing information about this department and its future. And so I'm looking forward to you seeing it as well. So with that, 2017's been a pretty remarkable year, right? We got a lot done, did a lot of great things. You should really feel proud, very proud, of the product that you produced, the customers you served, and the mission that you fulfilled. 2018 begins our new adventure. And I know that you now have the confidence, and we have the confidence in ourselves that we can meet it head on. In our flameout zone, where downhills don't come free. So thank you and congratulations.